Welcome to Jurisedge Academy's YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about other list of probable passages for CLAT PG 2022. We've also made part 1 of this video, so do check it out because we have discussed important subjects like Constitution, Criminal Law, Family Law and Public International Law in that video. So let's start this video and see some important areas that can be tested in the 2022 examination. So first of all, we need to understand how to identify important areas for passages. So as discussed before also, important areas for passages can be deduced from whatever is going on recently. If you look at CLAT's website, they have clearly specified that they want to test your knowledge of recent developments coupled with your understanding of concepts and landmark cases related to it. So that is why the best indicator for areas that can possibly come in the exam are recent judgments and the recent legal events that are going on. So with that background, let's start with some remaining areas that could possibly be asked in the 2022 examination. So first, let's start with the law of contracts. So even though contracts has been asked in last year's paper, and in 2020's paper there were no questions on law of contracts, but taking a look at some of the recent important judgments that have come on contracts law, these are the possible areas that can be asked from this subject. So first is the topic of restitution under section 65 of the Indian Contract Act. Then we have frustration of contract under section 56, section 23 which discusses lawful object and which also discusses as to what are the conditions that are required for a valid legal contract, and section 28 which deals with restraint on legal proceedings. So there are important case laws on all of these 4 areas, and this is why these areas and concepts and landmark cases related to this can possibly be asked. Next, we come to administrative law. Now, administrative law is also a very important area that is very frequently tested. Administrative law is of course related to constitutional law. It is in fact a part of constitutional law. So chances are that questions on administrative law can very much be asked. So the first topic in it will be the issue of tribunals. Now, whenever you read tribunals, make sure that you are revising the previous important judgments as well. So this will include, of course, the recent case of Madras Bar Association versus Union of India, but it will also include previous cases, that is previous Madras Bar Association judgments, and the case of Roger Matthew versus South India Bank Limited. Next, we come to the issue of separation of power. Now, with respect to separation of power, there are multiple judgments by the Supreme Court in the last 2 to 3 years, wherein the Supreme Court has either discussed separation of power or has restrained itself from passing any order on the ground of separation of power. Next, of course, we have a very important issue, that is the issue of principles of natural justice. So even though there is no one case which you can highlight for this particular area, but there are numerous judgments in which the court has discussed the various requirements of principles of justice, for example, requirement of audio alterum partem, or the requirement wherein the court has held that the High Court, while exercising Article 226 jurisdiction, should ensure that they give reasoned judgments or reasoned orders in their decisions. Next up, we have an important announcement that we have launched an IELT PG mock test series which is based on the changed pattern of IELT. Since IELT now has questions on English and legal reasoning, there are 10 mock tests which are based on this particular pattern. You'll get unlimited attempts and a detailed analysis with solutions. If you're interested in either IELT PG or CLAT PG 2022 mock tests, you can click the link below and sign up for them. Next up, we have environmental law. Environmental law is also an important area in which there are a lot of important judgments. So since environmental law was already asked in 2021's paper, so the same questions are of course not bound to be repeated. However, there are important areas in environmental law that have become more important. For example, cases relating to the National Green Tribunal. So there have been at least 4 to 5 very important judgments as recent as May 2022, which has discussed the jurisdiction and powers of NGT. So this is a very important area in which you have a lot of important cases. Next is the issue of environmental rule of law. So environmental rule of law is a very important and recent topic which has been devised by the Supreme Court around 2018-2019. Particularly, all the important judgments on this have been authored by Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. So you should check out the 4-5 cases that are there on environmental rule of law since the year 2018. Then of course we have the topic of environment impact assessment and the related issue of ex post facto environmental clearance. So your conceptual understanding of these two areas coupled with the understanding of recent case laws will be possible areas that can be tested in environmental law for 2022 examination. Lastly, we have some other miscellaneous topics. For example, in IPR, trademark is an important area which can be tested because there has been an important 3-judge bench decision in January 2022 which makes trademark important. Then we have one judgment of State of UP versus McDowell in which the court has discussed some areas of tort law. So this was a case with respect to insurance in a case of fire. So in this case, the court has discussed important areas of tort like negligence and vis major. So generally you do not really get cases in which these issues are discussed. So please check this case out definitely, because this increases the chances of torts also being asked in the CLAT PG examination. Then of course you have the issue of financial and operational debtor under the IBC. Then there is a case on amalgamation of company, which is important because not only does it talk about amalgamation of company, but it also talks about the effect of amalgamation of a company and how it is different than winding up of the company. Lastly, you have FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, and the amendment which recently happened to it, and the case of Noel Harper versus Union of India, in which the Supreme Court has discussed the constitutional validity of the FCRA amendment. So this brings us to the end of our video. We have covered all the important areas from all the important subjects. So these are the possible areas which can be tested. Please make sure that you revise them. If you like this video, please like and share and subscribe to our YouTube channel.